I'm George Abernathy, the proud president of FreightWaves. I hope you're enjoying all the terrific content that we're providing to you here at the FreightWaves Live at Home Spring Virtual Summit. I've got a really interesting guest right now and fireside chat. We're going to have a conversation with Kendra Phillips. Kendra is Ryder System CTO and VP of New Products for Supply Chain. Kendra, thanks for doing this. I think we're going to have some fun.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Kendra's background and the work that she's done in her career and now at Ryder really does encompass a significant amount of work that's occurred moving the ball forward and taking some of the buzzwords that we've used, that I've used in the industry, and really bringing them to the market. So we're going to cover a lot of those things, but let's start, Kendra, where the last year plus has taken us. We've all been and lived through COVID. We've seen some activity that has brought to bear with regards to the digitization of the industry. Why don't you speak to how COVID has impacted your new product development and the things that you've done in the digital space?
Absolutely. I know COVID has been very challenging for our customers and for supply chains in general. We've seen a lot of different issues this year, but when it comes to technology, COVID has actually been an accelerator. So the pandemic, I think, has really elevated supply chains in most companies' eyes. You're seeing everyone talk about it on the news, in their boardrooms, at the C-suite. And so what that means is they're starting to spend more money on it than they might normally. And that's exciting when it comes to tech and when it comes to new products. So we're seeing a lot of investment. We're seeing our customers start asking more about it. And a lot of interest there. The other thing I think it's driving is a much more willingness to be open and share data. So you're seeing that move from EDI to API. You're seeing there used to be discussions about a little bit being more protective of companies' data. You're starting to see that go to the sidelines. People are willing to share. They understand the importance of it. And it's really exciting. So at Ryder, we're working to take this data and to digitize the supply chain. That's a very important piece of the value we bring to our customers. And then we're using our tech to produce business intelligence and analytics with our data scientists that our operators can use to really harness the value of this. But this all only works when we're digital and when we're willing to share that data together.
So let's springboard from that and really discuss one of the unique products that you've introduced in RyderShare, and the buzzword, as I was describing, of end-to-end visibility. I've probably said that for a while here in my career, and we've probably fallen a little bit short on delivering, but it does sound remarkable. And let's speak to how now the data sharing, how some of that, digitization is actually letting RyderShare get to where we've looked for that panacea of end-to-end visibility?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's actually something I heard from one of our sales folks earlier. He's like, how is it different now, right? Because we have been talking about this for quite a while. And we're really excited at where we are with RyderShare. RyderShare is our product that digitizes the supply chain. It allows people to see their supply chain, act on their supply chain, and actually communicate and collaborate with other partners in their supply chain. And to your point, is it really end to end? Well, the answer is, if you're a Ryder customer, yes. So if you're a customer where we're doing your inbound transportation, maybe on a group of common carriers, we're running your warehouse, and then we're potentially doing your outbound transportation on a Ryder dedicated fleet. If we're operating it for you, you're going to see it fully end to end in one solution, all the pieces of your supply chain. Not only can you see it, but you can share it. So if your customers can actually have visibility to their orders and to their loads and what inventory is in transit, your suppliers can come into the platform and enter information about what's going to be coming your way. So it's really a great point to be at, where we have enough technology, enough capability, enough real-time information to share this end to end. So I think we are there.
That's really interesting. And that what has been hoped for, I couldn't agree with you more, that during the pandemic, it has required some additional openness, and we're seeing that innovative companies are taking advantage of that, and it's really fascinating and interesting and value driven for folks to be listening to and watching this. So let me switch a little bit over to how Ryder System and how you're looking at logistics technology. And we've talked about it before at FreightWaves. We've sort of been there at the forefront with you and what you're doing at Ryder Ventures. Love to get an update on that and understand you have sort of the parallel paths maybe that Ryder's technology, but also investments into other technologies that can drive forward logistics technology. Give us an update on where Ryder Ventures is and how those parallel paths work together.
Absolutely. So Ryder Ventures is something we're very proud of. We formally started it last October, but we've been informally working in this space for quite a while. And to your point about the parallel paths, we as a company and our leadership team especially want to make sure that we're going with our eyes wide open towards the change and disruption happening in the industry. And the best way we can do that is by really being ingrained into the startup community. So we partner with accelerators, partner with VC firms, and we're investing in various startups. And it's been a huge opportunity for us. And it's really our focus is we want to know what's happening when it comes to e-commerce, because that's a huge play right now. Autonomous electric vehicles, those are very important spaces for us. Obviously, digitization of data is very important. And then when it comes to data science and analytics. So we really focus on various startups in those spaces, really understand, from early stage through to about Series B, we're willing to invest and really looking for where we can bring a strategic value and partnership to those companies to help them grow.
So, Kendra, why is it so critical then for Ryder to be at the forefront? Where's the benefit coming to Ryder in being and playing that role?
At Ryder, what's very important to us is to be able to bring the best technology to our customers. And that's why this is so important. We are an 88-year-old company, right? And it's easy when you have been around that long to sit back on your laurels. And we can't afford to do that. Not right now, not with everything happening in this space. And so this is where the value of Ryder Ventures comes from, is we want to make sure that we are fully aware of what's happening. We are a piece of that, and that we're helping to lead it and then bring that value to our customers. So it's great because we pilot with a lot of startups. Some work and some don't, and that's okay. That's the whole point. But when they work, we can bring that value to our customers. And when they don't, we've learned a lesson and we understand, why it didn't. Was it the wrong space? Was it the wrong tech? Was it the wrong time? Because timing does matter. And we're learning and growing from that. And all of that helps our customers.
So as you think about it, the benefits that come from this shared knowledge are really interesting, in that startup realm. What could be the eventual outcomes with not only the shared knowledge, but those companies themselves? Is there a particular plan that Ryder has for the companies that are within the startup Ryder Venture bucket?
Absolutely. So we really see that we have a lot to offer to those companies. So we invest in them for us to learn, to grow, to be able to bring that value to our customers. But what we bring to them is really, to startups, is really significant. So we have services across all of the supply chain, right? So we can figure out where they might play. We touch all the industries out there. We even have a lease and rental fleet, which we see come into play a lot with these startups. So we have such a breadth of offering and depth of services that we're really able to pilot with these startups, figure out where do they make space, where do they make sense, what space should they be playing in, and then help them grow. So we can introduce them to different pieces of our business or to our customer base. And so it's that value that we bring to them. That's what we're looking for. And then when we see a lot of success in that, is when we start to get really excited. And again, that's when we can then harness that and bring that forward for our customers.
Are there any particular startups that Ryder has recently touched upon that you could give us and give our viewing audience some insight as to what those most recent investments might be looking to deliver as far as customer value is concerned?
Absolutely. So we have two formal investments that we've announced. The very first one we did was Smart Hop. So Smart Hop is a Miami-based company, which of course we're very excited about. They're also a startup that comes from within the industry. So those owners own their own trucking company first, so that they don't really come from a traditional startup background, which brought a lot of value to the table because they've lived it, they've experienced it. And what Smart Hop is trying to do is really create a business in a box for the owner operator market. So they have created very impressive technology that enables an owner operator to figure out their loads, not just for I need a load now or tomorrow, but figure out what they're going to do for the next few weeks in order to maximize revenues. And they're doing that off of predictive analytics, right? So they're not saying, hey, we know you're going to get a load in California next week that's going to be worth this much, but they're saying, hey, we think there's about a 90% probability you're going to get a load in California worth this much next week. So let's get you out there so you can get that load and find the highest revenue way to do that. So they have this really impressive technology that enables an owner operator to get the highest paying loads. But then in addition, they're offering other services. So they actually offer lease vehicles from riders. That's one way we've partnered with them. Maintenance from rider, they're offering fuel, they're offering insurance. So they're able to, and then a lot of back office services as well. So they're able to kind of even the playing field for our owner operators and really enable them to be more competitive. And then what else is really interesting is one of the places that owner operators have struggled in the past is technology, right? So being able to track and trace or get immediate POD. But with Smart Hop, that's part of the package. So now you've got owner operators who are operating at the same level and offering the same level of service as some of the bigger players. So it's a really interesting take on the market and one we wanted to be a part of. And then another company that we've formally announced is Baton. So Baton is different, right? They actually are two extremely intelligent individuals who come out of Stanford who are backed by 8VC. And what they're actually doing is they've created an ability for common carriers to enter into a large city, drop a trailer at the Baton hub, immediately pick up another trailer and keep leaving, or keep moving, I should say. And then Baton will take that trailer and deliver it the final mile. And then they'll also pick up trailers to be ready for the common carrier so that they can get out of a major city. So the value here is the saving in time of those inner city moves. And when you start to do the math, you realize how much time is wasted, right? So if you can get into LA, drop a trailer, pick up a trailer, and get out, the dollars saved to a carrier versus getting into LA, sitting overnight because your appointment's not until tomorrow, dropping that load, waiting another 8 hours to get another load, then trying to get through city traffic to get out, right? The time save is really significant, and so they're seeing a lot of value there. And then they're actually providing a better service to the customers of the carriers, right? So, when you have an appointment, that load is being delivered by Baton at the appointment time. It's ready, available. It's a local fleet. So they're really disrupting the way we've traditionally done transportation moves, and they're also setting up the future for an autonomous network, at least in my mind. So really excited about what they're bringing to the table as well.
That's really interesting. Smart Hop and Baton do sound like they are addressing problems that we've known existed, and how do we take new technology to try to answer them. Those are really exciting. So let's think about what other areas, other markets, other verticals are ripe for some sort of technology to come in and potentially do some level of disruption. Do you have your eyes on any particular market like that?
Yeah, when it comes to transportation, I think there's still a huge, and we're starting to see a huge opportunity with drivers. Obviously, we know there's a driver shortage that's impacting every facet of the business, but most technology is not focused on the driver. Or if it is, it's not focused necessarily on making the driver happier, I should put it. And so we are starting to see some startups focused on that space, right? Really understanding driver behavior, drivers' wants, desires, and how can they match them with the right loads for them or the right opportunities for them. So that I think is very interesting. It's an area that's obviously really needed. And personally, I've run operations. Drivers are the heart and soul of what we do. I mean, without them, I don't have a job, right? Without them, we don't have an industry. And focusing on them, I think, is the right thing to do and will drive tremendous value. So very excited about that. Um, and then the other thing we're seeing is the sharing economy. So you have Airbnb for displacing hotels, right? But now we're starting to see more sharing around assets and around facilities. So, and Ryder has done some of this. We have our startup Coop that Ryder actually created ourselves, and that's really around sharing trailers sharing tractors or trailers, and giving people opportunity to make revenue off of those when they're not in use. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that as well. So there's so much opportunity here. There's so many places you can go, and we'll continue to see that focus.
So we talked earlier about a trend that where API, becoming a way where that data can be shared, and novices, if you will, can do that and move towards more of that open data sharing. That trend has a lot of momentum. It's certainly something we see here at FreightWaves within our SaaS and data platform. Sort of to maybe bring this into full focus. What do you personally, and what does Riders see as sort of the next trends in technology? What will we be sitting here in a couple of years saying, hopefully it won't be another pandemic-ish or black swan-ish event that pulls back, or pulls forward these technologies. But what do you think in 2 to 3 years are some of those trends that you or Ryder think will be the next impactors in our space?
Yeah, it's a great question, and there's so many places to go with that answer. Uh, Obviously, autonomy is a place that I spend a lot of time. Ryder spends a lot of time thinking about. We obviously there's a lot of autonomous players out there, but how does that fit into the networks of today is really the question, right? I get the autonomous technology. I understand how that's going to work. Get that. But how does it fit into our current networks? Is it another mode, which I think is the answer, at least in my opinion, right? And how are shippers or customers going to buy that mode? What does that look like? So a lot of unknowns there that will, again, in my opinion, completely disrupt the industry. So I think that's the one place that's very, everyone talks about very much emerged, but still unknown on how it's going to materialize. And then the other opportunity I see is around Internet of Things. So much sensor data. There's just so much data out there, and the question is, how do we harness it? How do we capture it all? How do we drive value out of it? And that's still the challenge. I mean, it's easy to absorb the data to bring it in house, create a data warehouse or data mart, but then how do you actually harness it to bring value? And we've got some places we're doing a great job on that. I mean, track and trace is an example of, is a sensor data and harnessing it and bringing value from it. But there's so many other spaces that are still out there to be explored, and so really want to focus on that. How do we do that effectively to bring that value? And then the other place I'm very interested in with RiderShare, the platform we spoke about earlier. I'd really want to work. We're always developing it, always growing it, but the place I'm really interested in is how do I get deeper upstream into the supply chain? So how do we get we have our shippers who are our customers, but how do we get their suppliers and their suppliers and their raw material manufacturers into the platform so that you have that complete visibility or that complete connectivity, because today that's still very, very, very siloed. And I don't, I don't think that's an immediate answer. I don't think that will be anything
Sure.
I'll be telling you I've cracked the code on in a year. But that is where I'd like to be able to take ridershare.
Well, I appreciate the time, and I really want to think about what you described there, and it's a in that mode may be a way as we see autonomy, maybe a new mode. And if I think back, way back in the day, when things like intermodal were occurring and intermodal marketing companies, IMCs, were being named, I think, Kendra, we have the opportunity to name this mode. So, now I don't want to get into a what the truck thing here and get into a crazy
Put
name
me on the
that mode, but
spot.
I may have to pass this along to Dooner and the Dude and see if they want to try to name this mode. But I'll just have Kendra be the placeholder for what we're going to call the new mode, and then we'll go
Perfect.
forward from there.
I love it. I love it. That's
Uh,
perfect.
I really appreciate it. Kendra Phillips, again, is the Chief Technology Officer and Vice President of New Products for the Supply Chain Services at Ryder System, Inc. Kendra, this was a blast. I appreciate the time. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much, George. I had a great time. Appreciate it.
I hope everyone enjoyed this terrific conversation, and my expectations are you'll have just as much interest in what we have for you during FreightWaves Live at Home for our Spring Virtual Summit. Enjoy it, but I really want to see all of you in November in Chattanooga. Looking forward to the Future of Freight Festival and having as many folks as possible in person here in Chattanooga. Thanks very much. Have a great day.